Welcome to DC.
And here it comes. Swing and a miss. And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Dagger! It's 1974. The Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. Don't like that. I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
Despite all this, despite the churn, my approval ratings keep going up.
We are ready to give our 500% support back to this franchise, back to this city, back to this team after Snyder leaves. And then this is the poo-poo you put on the field.
For the very first time, the Washington Mystics are WNBA champions.
The Washington Commanders select Jaden Daniels.
I'm going to support fake teams that can't ruin my life.
Did you call bank? I call game.
Thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Well, FP, oh my goodness. I'm telling you, the Open is getting better. I'm just saying. I added a piece in there for you. I mean, did you see I added the Jaden piece in? I feel like it's got to be there from now on.
The did you call bank? I called game.
It's so
Just
good.
flashed across, but I had it as Jaden Daniels saying it after this past Sunday.
I mean, that would be something, right? I mean, listen, I know that the feedback when we talked about maybe getting rid of the Open, I mean, we got a rotating cast here, right? So there's times where, you know, you'll see Stevie for a couple weeks in a row. Right now, he's MIA a little bit right now, but it is, I mean, there's a World Series game going on. I got it on a screen. I'm assuming you've got it on a screen too somewhere, right? So like we're watching. I understand Matt the Met is locked in. You know, LP pops in and out. Like, but I feel like we have to keep that open. Like that is our show open. It's been here for 3 out of the last. No,
Captures the journey, baby. Since like 2017.
I mean, it's got the Caps in there. It's got the Nats in there. It's got Buck doing the dagger bit. I did have it edited a little bit shorter so we don't have to hear Beal's name every show open.
Yeah.
No, the you like that sound bit, like that sound bite. I mean, that defined the entire Kirk era, right?
Yeah.
Baker was a beast. Like I feel like we have to have that. We added in Jaden. We added in the Mystics. I don't think we talked about them very much, but hey, that's another championship banner that the city has hung. You know, and then we got Obama and Trump doing their thing too. And obviously we're a couple days out from an election here. So like, I don't know, like I just feel like it encompasses all the things that we do here, minus food. Like maybe the last thing we need is like some kind of snack soundbite or something. But I want to talk about the Commanders. I mean, last we saw each other on this platform, we were talking on Sunday. And I apologize about the blue blockers, but it's been a long day. My eyes are strained. You know, but I still got the game up here. Like I'm watching the condensed game up here. I've got the World Series in front of me. Like I'm still watching this game.
I cannot stop.
I've been watching reaction videos, both of Bears fans and of Commanders fans, you know, all week long. And I got to be honest, winning fixes how terrible the name is. And I can't believe I'm even saying these words, FP, but
You're going to say it. You're going to say, is it about the black?
The trash bag black. I hate it. I hate it so much. But you know what I hate a little bit less as we're sitting here on Thursday following that Sunday game?
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate the name Commanders as much anymore. I hate the left hand up and the take command and all this stuff. That stuff maybe not for me.
I do like the soft rebrand that Adam Peters did when he came in and Harris Group with the hail. And the hail, yeah.
The hail hat is kind of cool that McConaughey was rocking.
Yeah, very cool hat.
You know, Ern R. Jr. was on the sideline with the hail hat. Like, I'm okay with all of these things right now. Like, there's literally nothing they can do to upset me as a fan, as a lifelong fan. I showed you a clip that I'm not going to show anywhere else, but you know, my family on like I think I shared this with you on the instant reaction show. I literally saw the moment my kids became fans of this team on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like it reinvigorated me in a way. Like I'm embarrassed to say it, man, but I was almost to tears watching that.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
We're 4 days later and I'm still watching it. And it's just awesome. The city right now is on fire. Like you're seeing you're seeing hats, football team hats, Commanders gear. You're seeing
All of
JD5
it comes out.
everywhere. The flags, like this is people don't understand how badly this city has been yearning for the football team in particular to not be terrible. Like we talked about it, right? The Caps having their moment was amazing. The Nationals having their moment right before COVID was amazing. I'm almost willing to go as far as to say that this football team being 6-2 and the manner that they're doing it, I mean, I'm not going to say it's bigger than winning a championship, but oh my God, does it feel like it right now?
The way that this city is brewing and waiting to erupt. I mean, the reaction videos that you shared of all the fans, and we discussed it earlier. I don't know if this is how it always is with every team that has sort of one of these games or one of these moments, if social media is just drowned in it and you can't get away from the play and the discussion and the reactions and the hot takes. I don't know if that's the case because we've always been on the losing side and we avoid social media week after week after week because we had such a crap product, or if this is the norm and this is what all the teams feel. But part of me thinks this is bigger because it is this fan base, because it was 1 versus 2. And for whatever reason, the Bears have this like fake rivalry that they brewed up in their own head, and they were so
okay
cocky.
with it. You know,
I'm okay with it too, but it's just my whole thing is like every time that Hail Mary play goes, and you hear Nance with the chat or the radio call of it or the Spanish call of it or whatever, and like I just find myself
the Bears radio call.
Yeah, I just find myself cheesing, like big smile, almost tears to my face. I've watched the video 356 times. I cannot stop.
Yet you haven't watched it enough, right? Yet
yeah.
we need.
I watch it every time like it's my first time seeing it, and it's just so. We are lifelong fans. Downstairs is Redskins man cave centric. I have all the old name gear. I've embraced the W logo. I've been just waiting and waiting and waiting for something like this to happen. And I don't even care about the win-loss record. I don't care about playoffs and Super Bowl. I want it all, and I think we can get there. But I just like seeing a real product on the field that competes and that you don't have to sit there and feel defeated 5 minutes into a game. It's been so long that I can.
But you have to love that the difference at this stage of the season between a 5-3 and a 6-2 record, like it's meaningful, right?
Yeah.
Like the Eagles, and we'll talk about the NFC East here in a moment, but like 6-2 means something. And you go back to the Robert year, right? And I think this is the final nail in the coffin of the comparison between that team and this team. If you recall, that team was 3-6, if I'm not mistaken, at one point when Mike Shanahan had his infamous quote, go viral at the time, right? Wasn't as viral as things go now, but when he basically said we're in evaluation mode for the next year, right? Like the team was 3-6 and largely like there was spurts of performance, but it was largely an underperforming, underwhelming team.
100%.
3-6. And I mean, the coaching staff was punting on the season, and then they ripped 7 in a row and the magic happened from there. This team is not that team.
No.
This team has been out in front or had a lead in 7 of 8 games played.
Yes.
Right?
Outside of week one, you cannot say that this team showed up and wasn't just dominating whatever it was on the field at the time.
This team has won, keep me honest here, but 6 of 7 games.
Yeah.
Like we don't have that here. We haven't had that here. Like this is not the RG3 years. And I know the comparison will always be there, but I think it's starting to wane. Even the best Kirk year didn't have a run like this. And what's really impressive about this team, and we talked about it on Sunday, the defense is playing. I'm not going to say the Super Bowl caliber because they're not, but they're good enough to win the NFC East.
They're being coached up, and they're getting better.
And I think they're good
exponentially week by week.
They're good enough to win a playoff game, especially if that playoff game is at home.
This isn't like those other teams because you truly have a perfectly curated, designed offense that immediately is blossoming. You went from 25th or 26th preseason
By the way,
EPA
that was
ranking,
definitely a catch, by the way. That's a catch.
100%. The Ertz touchdown, 100%.
Yeah.
But you go from a 25, 26 ranked EPA to suddenly you're first, right? Like the trajectory of this offense, it's taken everybody by storm. When you're looking at power rankings, right? You have some people that just they refuse to buy in on the team, right? And they still think it's the same Washington team and oh, it's fluky. But we're passing the eye tests, and like I mean, we've done this every podcast now. I'm a numbers guy. I like to look at numbers, look at stats. Statistically, this offense, we'll keep it just to this season, just to the other powerhouse teams out there. This offense is better than those powerhouse teams. It's better than the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, the Packers, the Lions. Even we're above all of those teams as a full offensive unit, and it's insane to even say that, right? Like everyone's freaking out about the Lions and Goff, and they have their rebuild in their moment, and that's great for them. But this is happening immediately for us. Like AP, Quinn, and Cliff, immediate turnaround, and it's so soon, and it's house money, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Stiffer Cliff is not going anywhere. Right?
Not at all.
That's going to stay, and it's only going to get stiffer, right? I mean, he is calling like almost perfect offensive games right now. Yes. Like that last game, you know, now that we're whatever 4 or 5 days removed from it, we have football tomorrow. As week 9 gets underway, you look at it and you think, okay, if the Commanders get 2 of 3 touchdowns in the red zone to start the game, and they're up 17-0, or maybe they're up 21-0, you're probably not getting that swift 56-yard run because they're going to be in throw it all day mode. You may get an opportunistic interception because they have to throw so much. Like Caleb did not play well for 75% of that game, and he played okay for 10%, and he played great for about 50%, right?
I'll agree with that.
You know, like, and he's improving. And again, this Chicago DC thing, like, doesn't bother me. Like, I'm fine having these two guys both be studs and you know, face each other for years to come. Maybe it turns into a Rodgers Stafford
but
thing.
Also, we don't have the PTSD that Bears fans have of the immediate past of season after season after season, first overall QB pick.
I mean, we have a little bit of it.
No, but they have immediately the guy drafted after their guy is
over and over.
And it's.
I think Caleb will be okay though. Like I think he will be okay. He you know, when you see him and Jaden on the field at the same time, or you know, respectively at the same time, you can see that one has played a lot more football than the other. And
to the point where it's changing college narratives now.
Yes.
There's reports of scouts and agents telling the college kids, like, you should stay in for 2 to 3 seasons because NFL doesn't really groom quarterbacks the way they used to back in the day. And this is all stemming from just seeing Jaden Daniels having the game be slow for him right out the gate.
Sure. Yeah.
And like, it's just.
And it's interesting to see Cliff really like buy into that. Like I think this game on Sunday, like this feels like a trap game, right? Like to me, it feels like one of those games that you know you should win it, but to me right now, and again, this could just be the spurned lover effect, right? Like I feel like this is one that they're likely to drop just because they're expected to win at this point. The Giants, I mean, they struggled. Let's just be honest. The Commanders could not get points against the Giants defense last time out. And when they had him here in DC, it was a field goal fest. You know, that was the last team, that's the only team this season to keep them out of the end zone for the entire game. Right. So like there's something to be said there. Malik Neighbors looks every bit like a Victor Cruz, an OBJ. You know, I mean,
I feel like that's offensive to Malik. He looks like he could be a Justin Jefferson. Yeah.
Maybe. Like he doesn't have like that super size, but that boy catches everything and he just seems to be open all the time.
Right.
Like they're going to have some challenges. Now, that being said, they just went up against a team that could at any point in time put Keenan Allen on one side, DJ Moore on the other, and then split out Swift or Komet. Like the Bears have a solid offensive unit. 100%. You could certainly argue that they were a better offensive unit than the Giants for sure. And they largely kept them just bottled up. And that's got to give you hope as a fan going into this. I expect them to win, but it feels like a game they might drop.
The problem is the Giants, for whatever reason, they're always scrappy against us and play great against us. And
DJ in particular, that boy rips 50-yard runs.
I don't get it. But also, if you think about that Giants game this season, right, that was where Jaden Daniels had his first hit, the big hit, and we all held our breath.
Yep.
And he was fine. And then he kind of just shook it off. And then he started passing, and that's really when the offense kind of clicked out of first gear and was finding some traction, right? And the team, listen, field goals or not, we got to the red zone 7 times, right? We were moving that ball effectively without any problem, and that was before the chemistry came with Jaden and Terry. That came with the Bengals game, right? So a lot of stuff has changed from that past game, but the bigger thing is the defense, and on top and even higher is like the coaching staff. And this is kind of what we've been saying. Like, the reason why this team is 100% Dan Quinn. And I don't want anybody to forget that it is Dan Quinn on top of all of this, right? Cliff coming in, Joe Witt coming in, Anthony Lynn coming in, all of these coaches.
Anthony Lynn, unsung hero.
All of these coaches wanted to come because of Dan Quinn, right? And if you have Micah Parsons and Diggs sitting on his podcast, and they look at the Hail Mary play,
underproduced by comparison to our podcast.
I would agree.
I'm just saying,
nicer backdrop, because millionaires. But yeah, when you have 2 former players look at that play, and they're just not surprised because that's Dan Quinn. And then they just go on a 5-minute tangent, talking about everything he brought to the team in Dallas.
Did you see him jumping around on the field? Like,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
I don't think I've ever seen a scene like that on an NFL field.
You Pete Carroll. That's the only time you saw it was Pete Carroll, which is exactly where Dan Quinn got it from.
And
the overly optimistic
the security guards.
Yeah,
like that ball was caught. And it felt like Noah was like in a state of shock because Terry came over, started pounding on him. Like it was it was like, what just happened? And then you just see like the sidelines empty.
Explosion.
I also got to say, we've talked about Forbes now a couple weeks in a row. He had the big interception early in was the Ravens game?
Panthers game.
Sorry, Panthers game. And he played a little bit more against the Bears, but I'll tell you, big time sportsmanship move from him.
Yeah.
Walking around the field after that happened, like he celebrated
the Bears guys.
He was picking those boys up. And I'll tell you, like, I know we can debate his efficiency and like how he's actually playing on the field, but like just as a dude, I like him.
The whole thing with Forbes is a corner is going to be a corner, right? You have the physical set to be a corner. Like we discussed it, like, how to be a corner, but it's a very mental. There's a big mental part of that game. And I think the Ron Rivera regime just gave him no chance to survive as a young guy.
Starting him there, week 1,
throwing him up to the wolves against AJ Brown and all these, we devoured him mentally. And this now is a real coaching staff where you can see it by his action on the field, picking up those Bears guys, is that he is now realizing it's just a game. Right? It's not life. Let me go let me go help these guys up. They're still humans. They're devastated right now. Let me go pick them up, pat them on the back, say good job. It just shows that his maturity and his mental awareness has shifted from F this game, I'm done, I suck, I don't want to do this anymore, to all right, there's
the Bears
light at the end of the tunnel type thing.
Bears D-back, I'm blanking on his name right now, that was jumping around and
Stevenson or whatever.
Yeah, and yapping at the fans. Like he actually has been playing great as well. Like he's part of a very good unit. You can't do that. Like you just gotta know where you are. He'll learn from it. Again, people that are calling for his job or he's not gonna be cut. No,
he's such a good player.
He's not just a good player. Like he made a mistake. Once upon a time, if you recall, like Dwayne Haskins forgot to check into a game because he was taking a selfie with a fan right after his first or maybe second.
Kirk Cousins spiked it instead of taking a knee. It happens to everybody.
These things happen, right? I mean, look in Indianapolis, and I do want to get to these questions, right? But how do you feel? I mean, you played football. You played football. I mean, I've never played organized football, but I am
Tapping yourself out
really
is wild.
the idea. Like
Wild.
you got to fake a knee injury. You got to wince and like I'm not saying lie to your team, but you can't. I mean, do you remember how heated the fans in DC were when Shanny subbed out Donovan because of cardio concerns?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that was a coach doing it to a player. The player at least had the opportunity to say, "No, I was fine."
Yeah.
Richardson, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback, scrambled on 2 plays back to back and then subbed himself out of the game on a 3rd down because he was winded, like tired.
Insane to me. Insane to me.
We've talked about him here and there, FP, over the last couple of weeks. He's not the answer. I mean, they immediately should have Flacco in the starting lineup.
They already did. They said it. He's
But
benched.
he's actually worth nothing. Richardson. I mean,
Yeah.
he can throw the ball really far, but he's not accurate. He's not precise.
He's a very, very big project.
Yeah, he
Very
reminds me of
big
Jamarcus Russell, but
Yeah.
more slender and a little bit faster. But it's just not there. Like he's not.
But it's kind of just, and this comes down to sort of just coaching staff and support system, right? Like Titans with Malik Willis, everyone said big project sucks, never going to be good QB. Comes to Green Bay, Jordan Love goes down, Malik picks it right up.
Sure.
Offense doesn't stop because LaFleur is there. He has a good staff. He has everybody there, and
So you could argue the same right now about Mariota too. By the way,
100%.
Mariota's in a position now where he's running an offense, Cliff's offense, which is much closer or much more similar to what he ran at Oregon, which made him so successful.
Sam Darnold with the Vikings, even bigger picture, Jared Goff with the Lions. Like there comes a point where you just have to have the correct fit with the correct culture, with the correct support. Like it all plays a part in it. But from a personal standpoint, just to not have, I mean, and that's kind of what, AP and Dan Quinn talked about, like having that dog in them. You don't want a player on your team that's just going to tap themselves out and go rest.
I don't. Yeah,
not your QB1.
Not as you can't do it as a QB. This question came in, FP. I think we got to come up with a segment name for this. I'll work on it in the next week or so, but it's really, you change a couple words around in the sentence here for those that are streaming live. The question on the screen is, should the Commanders make a defensive move, or as a statement, the Commanders should make a trade to improve the defense? Where are you falling on this one? Because honestly, going into Sunday, I would have said they should. After the way they played against the Bears, and frankly, even against the Ravens, maybe I'm only asking the question. I'm not saying it definitively as a statement that they have to, because I think what they have is good enough to win the NFC East and a home playoff game as well. And for me, as much as we joke and dream about New Orleans, like anything can happen. But the defense, the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks, really through this entire, through the month of October,
Right.
they're good enough. They are good enough.
Yeah, I mean they've seen some really good receivers come across this defense. I think I'm with you in that I went from saying they have to do something to they could do something, right? And that's kind of where you just put your trust in Peters, right? If the right phone call can be made to get the right fit, to get the right character, to get the right position, and you don't have to forfeit too much to get that. Sure.
I mean, the Ravens picked up Deontay Johnson for nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
If you can get somebody like that, where it just kind of like shocks the rumor mill, and everyone's like, "Whoa, wasn't seeing that."
The Ravens that improvement. I mean, him opposite Zay Flowers is and then still you still got Mark Andrews in the middle. The Ravens are for real. Like that. Loaded.
But their biggest issue, and this is why they lost to the Browns, is they can't stop any offense, right? Their defensive secondary sucks, and even our team.
Honestly, which defense right now in the league? Maybe Pittsburgh, maybe. Like, what defense are you throwing out on the field right now? And you're just 100%. Forget 100%. You're 90% certain they can get a stop in a pivotal point. Like there isn't like Denver's got a really good defense, So I guess depending on game situation, maybe
kind of have to pick and choose, right? Where do you want the strength of that defense, right? Like Denver's is their secondary, Browns is their secondary and their edge rush, Ravens is their run defense. Ours is probably linebackers and run defense. Like you have to choose what you want the strength of defense, but there is no holistic defense out there. Maybe the Vikings, they're one of the better defenses this year, but I think a lot of that is just kind of scheme with them and how much
they got lit up last week, right? I mean, like it's
yeah. So I mean, it just, but that's the point, right? Like nobody has to kind of the narrative of that you and I were echoing last week of we have to make a move, you have to bring in a guy, you have to do something to help this defense because the offense is just so good.
Yeah.
It has changed, and that's because the coaching staff is doing what the coaching staff needs to do, and you're seeing the uptick in defensive play, you're seeing the cohesiveness, and they're doing just enough to keep it close for this offense to take off, right? If they're doing 20 on points or less, they're doing just enough.
Yeah. I mean, if you told me this defense was going to consistently hold people to 20 points or less, or even 25, 24, 25, they're going to win more than half of the games remaining. Like,
I mean, I don't know how much you remember, but last year we were giving up 21 points a half.
Right.
Easily.
Yeah. Well, and there was no hope of getting those points back offensively. Like if like the Commanders right now could hang in a shootout, right?
Yeah.
Like, you'd at least have a shot, right? Well,
yeah.
A Hail Mary, right? Like you have a shot. Keep it in the NFC East here. Same thing. Are the Cowboys in trouble, or the Cowboys are in trouble? I think this one's easy for me, but you
Cowboys are in trouble. 100%.
They're done. They're toast.
Very expensive contracts. No cohesiveness. The defense can't do anything right. You could see maybe what happens when Micah Parsons comes back for them, but they are in trouble as long as Jerry Jones is their GM, right? They now have the worst ownership in the NFL outside of Tepper and the Panthers. He is way too meddlesome, and he will not allow this team to go where it needs to go. But because all he cares about at the end of the day is the value of his team, and the Cowboys fans are Cowboys fans.
Wants to win.
I don't think he does. I think he wants the nicest stadium, the nicest fan experience, the jerseys to be sold, the merchandise to be all over Middle America. And as long as he's getting that money coming in and he's top dog on sports valuations,
I'll tell you,
he cares.
I'll tell you, like, I agree with you. I don't think this is a question. This is a definitive statement, right? I mean, the Cowboys are in trouble. They refuse to address a position of need, a big time need in running back during this offseason. They had a chance to bring in, I mean, how would this team look or fare right now with Derrick Henry as opposed to they activated Dalvin.
The NFC East would look like the NFC North if the Cowboys had Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think they would have. Yeah, I mean, they would be at least more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
The way they handled Dak's contract on the first day of the season, right before the Cleveland Open. I mean, they looked fine in that game, right? And I remember coming on the show and kind of talking about like they're going to be there in the end. The wheels have come off so fast in Dallas. I mean, they are in trouble. I mean, they are overpaying a quarterback. You referenced the podcast, Micah's podcast. He had Jaden. I don't know how much of that you listened to, but he had Jaden Daniels in his top 5 QBs playing right now, and said like he's one of the he's the scariest one right now. Like he's the scariest.
Yeah,
because you kind of know what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. Jaden is still until they haven't faced him yet. Until you see him in real time, you just don't know. He didn't have his own quarterback in the top 12 or 13, right?
He shouldn't have that.
I know, but it's just they are in trouble, right? And it like I don't care about the Cowboys. I hope they stay down forever. But there's something satisfying. I have a close friend of mine who's a Cowboys fan, never been to Dallas, Cowboys fan. He knows who he is. I'm not gonna say his name, but there was something very satisfying about the Commanders. See, I'm trying to say it more to kind of normalize it here, FP. There was something very satisfying about Washington playing in the traditional Cowboys 4:00.
Yeah.
Spot.
Yeah.
It was the game that everybody was watching for the most part.
It was the last game to end. So everybody saw it.
Everybody was watching, and everybody got to watch what we were watching here.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that there's historical Redskins fans in Arizona. There's tons in Carolina. But I mean, DC tends to collect people from everywhere, which is why when teams come to town here to play, there's always good representation in our stadium from other, like, just just part of living here. That just
Yeah.
happens, right? Nobody goes to Seattle.
I mean, across all 4 of our teams, that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, like Chicago, okay, like there are certain hubs that maybe collect people, right? But when you go to Carolina, it's largely Carolina fans. Like no one's really traveling there. Vegas, I think over time is going to look a lot like DC, where people are going to treat it like a destination. It's a trip.
You turn the trip into a vacation.
Exactly.
Or the schedule.
But for the whole country to effectively be watching that game wrap up, all the talking heads, that's the only game, that's the only thing happening at that moment. Literally every eye in America on Sunday afternoon was on Jaden Daniels and the Washington football team, the Commanders, during that, and the reaction was universal. Like shock different for us.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the amount of social media presence from that play, I don't think it's normal reaction that we saw. I think it became a much bigger thing. Like modern sports viralism it happens, right? Big moments become viral, but the counter resets 24 hours max, right? Like the next play happens, the next game happens, the World Series, Grand Slam, whatever, it happens and you shift. But this one, and I'm pretty sure it's not just being a Washington echo chamber, but this one's staying for a while because there's so many angles and the reactions and the different like parts that you can look at. It just keeps growing. And mind you, everybody was watching Jaden do that Hail Mary, but this is his second time in front of the entire nation, shocking everybody, right? Because that Bengals game, that Monday night game, that was your coming out party, right? And that was the giant pass to Terry, the toe tap to get the touchdown. Like it was just Jaden, for whatever reason, when the lights shine the brightest, somehow
the opposite of Kirk.
Yeah, he's just there's just always a chance. It's just LP was sitting next to me and he was negative, and I almost punched him repeatedly.
Do it.
There's just always a chance with Jaden, and it's just the scrappiness of this team. And like, if we as fans feel that, just imagine being inside of that locker room. Imagine going to practice knowing that you got 5 taking snaps.
Yes. I mean, B-Rob was on local radio. I don't know if you heard that hit this week. He's filling in for Jonathan Allen for the rest of the week because Allen's injured. And he said, you know, him and Jaden, they just shoot straight. And he saw him on Monday or Tuesday in the building. He was like, "Are you going to be able to go?" And he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And there was like a short exchange. He's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "I'm sure." Like, okay. And then they went out and practiced. Like, you know, and you probably get in trouble for doing that because the team's supposed to disclose injuries and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of reasons. This came up earlier this week. Like, why do teams have to disclose injuries? It's because of Vegas. It's because of betting lines. It's because of it's a competitive advantage. Like, there's a billion reasons why they have to do it. But, you know, all this to say, like, they are poised to. They can't run away with the East because I think the Eagles they look like they've at least found a little bit of their stride. Hurts looked much better as a running first quarterback last week. We'll see. I mean, that game will.
I don't believe in that team at all.
I think that game will either confirm our assumptions about our team or confirm our assumptions about the Eagles. Like,
I think the
Washington can lose and we'll still be. Washington can lose and we can feel good about the team playing their type of football. The Eagles can win and look terrible. Like, we're going to learn a lot about both teams, but I expect Washington to be favored and win every game the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like the 2 tests before the Eagles. I like the Giants game, seeing how they respond after that Steelers game. And then I also like that we're also going to get the Steelers off of their bye week.
Yes.
And they'll be prepared, right? So then you had the Bears off their bye, you have the Steelers off their bye. You basically had the Giants off a little bit longer of a week. Like, it'll be, short week for them, but it'll be interesting to see how we go against both of the Giants and the Steelers. Have really, really, really good defenses, better than the Eagles. But then you have one offense taking off, one offense stale. It's 2 really good tests, but the Eagles, I'm not worried about them. I've never been a believer in them. Our preseason discussion, I didn't believe in Jalen Hurts. I didn't believe in their new OC, DC, or Sirianni or any of it. I think they're all fluky. My prediction, and we could probably do this closer to the game, is I think Forbes has a redemption game.
Okay, let's add more people to the Forbes list. I actually like that little moniker. I think it's a clever name. I think
It is pretty clever.
We gotta. I mean, I feel like every week we're talking about the Jets here. I mean,
they're on prime time way too much.
Way too much. I mean, I don't mind watching the Texans, but I mind watching them against the Jets on a short week. Like that is going to be an ugly game.
I do like seeing Aaron Rodgers get embarrassed over and over and over again.
No, we talked about this last week, FP. I'm really torn on this, to be honest, because I don't
He's a booger eater. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question that came in, should the Jets look to sell off parts immediately, or the Jets should move Hall, Wilson, Adams, who just got there, and basically punt on the season, prepare for next season? Where are you falling on this one? I can argue either one of these, but I do have I have a feeling I'm leaning one way more than the other. What's your feeling here? What should the Jets be doing?
If I'm Adam Peters, I would call the Jets for Sauce Gardner, and I would offer a pretty ransom for him.
I would. You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, I don't care about. I don't think the Jets would be stupid enough to move Hall or Wilson. Those are young pieces at running back and receiver. They're not going anywhere. Adams is an interesting one because nothing actually stops them from trading him again. I just don't think he's worth anything.
I don't think so either.
Rodgers is really not worth anything. He's not going anywhere. I think he's got the equivalent of a no trade. So Sauce is an interesting piece, though. If
first round talent, playing as a first round talent.
Yeah, if you could get him for the equivalent of I don't know what, a 2, 3.
He's probably going to command at least another 1.
I don't know if I'd give up a 1.
He's one of the top corners in the game. I mean, you're basically, if you bring in a Sauce and you lock him up, your defensive back end is solidified for 10 years.
You'd run, well, maybe not that long, but
no, I mean, he's young.
For Jaden's window, for Jaden's rookie contract, he's fine. He would be here for the duration of.
Well, you would be bringing in a Cromartie at his prime, right? You would be bringing down a Revis Island at his prime,
and you'd to me the biggest. I mean, yeah, if you have someone like Sauce on your this roster, you're playing Benjamin St. Juste at the on the second receiver.
Maybe even 3 because Sanders still can leapfrog him, right?
The problem is right now you've got Benjamin playing moonlighting as a 1 when he's really a 2,
3, yeah.
Right. So that is a huge upgrade. And then your safeties can be safeties.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's never going to happen. But the crazy thing is we're living in a world now.
He said the Hail Mary was never going to happen.
No, but what's insane is
I'm talking about the play before the play.
We're living in a world where we get to be window shopping instead of talking about the immediate needs to be fixed, which is those post games of past when you would have B. Mitch come on and just talk about how to get this team to be a normal team, right? How to adjust normal things. We don't have to do that anymore. Now we can go window shopping. Now we can pick and choose and live in fantasy land. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean if they can improve to 7-2, I mean it's the city's on fire as it is, FP, but I really want it to happen. I really
7-2. The Steelers are scary, but if let's say you go 8-2, that Eagles game, if you come into that Eagles game 8-2, that's insane.
I mean,
that's insane.
I don't mean to abruptly change topics here, but you are watching the top of the 8th with 3 on for the Dodgers, no outs, and a 1, and needing it's 6-5 right now. This is
it's turned into an exciting game.
Yeah, I mean, this is Grand Slam territory here. We'll keep an eye on it. I do want to jump into. I mean, how much of the World Series have you been taking in?
A good amount. I've been keeping up with it pretty well.
I mean, game 1 and 2 were kind of snoozy. 3, I feel like it got better, and then this week I've been watching. I really have enjoyed it. Matt the Met gave me some things to watch, and he's, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I'm still learning baseball in many ways. I'm still learning about the shifts and the pitches, and there's a lot of gamesmanship and strategy in baseball that Stevie knows it, and Matt, I know Matt gets it too, but I'm picking it up as I go. I'll be honest though, for this matchup and the way they hyped it up, East versus West and Ohtani and Judge and whatever, it's been a bunch of guys that I've never heard of really kind of
Yeah.
doing stuff.
The second half of the pitching order is kind of the ones that are taking over and
Yeah.
making things happen.
But it has been fun. It's been nice to have live sports on that's not, I love football, but like,
I think
it's
we
nice.
need to talk, and this might be more a you and me conversation because we're not so intertwined in the sport. The fan interference that we've seen repeatedly from New York fans, that's insane to me. It's insane that there's a sport that can easily be interrupted by a fan. That doesn't happen in any of the other sports.
Maybe it's a full count. He's about to walk him inside the game. We'll see what happens here. Yeah, and that dude, that big Bertha gentleman that was up there grabbing and yanking on gloves, the face and the four necks and the two ears and like what are you doing, dude? Like,
yeah,
such a New York moment. Like, I mean, the only thing to make it maybe more perfect would be if that was in Philly.
Yeah,
but here we go, Dodgers tie up.
I would just listen. All of DC sports currently are kind of on the rise, right? Was that it? Was that the play?
Yeah, that was the play. It was replaying for if you're watching the broadcast. I have the condensed Commanders game playing on behind me.
I can watch it. First of all, I'm really happy that it was Nance on the play call and Romo didn't ruin.
He almost ruined it. Oh, we need Mariota in the game.
Yeah, he wanted Mariota, but I'm happy that he wasn't on the mic during that play because Tony Romo is the most insufferable trash commentator.
Actually, his fall from grace was pretty quick as a commentator.
It's not the whole like Nostradamus predictability part of him. It's that he doesn't shut up. Shut up and stop scribbling on the screen. Just let me watch the game.
The predictive piece is always going to fade just as he gets further away.
And that's fine. But it's just like he doesn't respect the sanctity of like right before the snap. Just shut up. Let me watch the game. Why is there always a doodle on the screen?
Do you? That's true too. Do you typically watch the Manning cast on Mondays, or do you watch the standard broadcast?
It depends on how good the game is. If the game kind of poo-poos, I'll go Manning cast. But if it's a really good game,
I want
to watch it.
I really enjoyed the novelty of the Manning cast when they were first doing it, and it was kind of unscripted, and it was more like two brothers hanging out watching football.
Yeah,
Belichick is. I do enjoy Belichick because he really doesn't hold any punches and he just kind of calls it the way he sees it.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are just like, do I really care what LL Cool J has to say about anything? Like,
yeah, I mean, the novelty is worn off, but also they talk a lot too, right? Like,
but I like hearing Peyton and Eli talk football.
Yeah, I like hearing them nerd out.
I don't want
it to be a talk show.
Sweater vests and the armpit sweat. I don't care about that stuff. Like I don't care.
But you have to think about the best commentators, right? Like Tirico and Collinsworth. When it's not a Patrick Mahomes game and Chris Collinsworth isn't fanboying.
Yeah.
It's like a steady pace, and Tirico is good at not interrupting, right? And like even Troy and Buck, they're good at not interrupting, and they know when to pause so you can take in the game. Romo's terrible at that. He's just awful. And then all the Sealy commentators and everybody that we've had for the Washington games for the last 17 years, they're all terrible at that too. But it's just, I'm happy he wasn't on that. I've watched that clip way too many times, but best time of year.
It is. I want to talk a little bit about the Caps have been really interesting to watch as well. Like super high highs, medium-ish lows. What is the expectation for this team?
Right now, my expectation is Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh my!
This team.
Wow, my God!
Listen. This team. Let me put this in football terminology for you. Okay. This team, as bad as they were last year, it is almost an equivalent to what the Washington Commanders are doing right now. They came out of the gate very fast, very quick, offense
fast
firing.
For old guys or fast?
Fast for fast.
Okay.
Very quick. Nobody was expecting this offense. Nobody was expecting the offseason acquisitions to click this fast, to turn this team around. You're now 6-1-1, I believe, or something like that. I think you're 6 wins now. We just took down the Rangers, which was the consensus number one team in the NHL up until that game yesterday. We outshot them 2-1. It was a very exciting game. Ovi got 2 goals. Like this team, it is like everything that is happening in the NFL world with the Commanders, it's echoing with the Caps. That is that kind of start of the season to them. So all of the the hopes and wishes of New Orleans with the NFL, it's kind of the same thing with the Caps. And I think that game yesterday easily could be a preview of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Rangers and the Caps. They're coming out fantastic. Tom Wilson looks amazing, and you still don't have your full roster. You still have a couple injuries to overcome, but that defense looks great. The offense looks really fast, really good at putting up points. I think we're outscoring ourselves on a pace from last year to this year. Like
It's
last year was like 10 goals within 6 games. We're at like 35 goals within 6. Like it's just we exploded on offense suddenly, and it's going to be so much easier now for Ovi to get those empty net goals and whatever goals he needs to get those final 38 goals.
He needs a bunch, right? I mean, and this is the question.
now.
The question that came in is, will the Wizards get to 30 wins faster than Ovechkin gets to 900 or 30, missing 38 goals? I mean,
894. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question because I mean the Wizards were pegged. Vegas had the Wizards winning 27.5 games on the entire season. I will tell you, they've played 4 games this season. I've watched parts of 3 and all of 1, which happened to be last night.
2-2. What's the record?
They are 2-2. They played a home against they were in Atlanta against the Hawks last night.
And then played them here.
And then they played them again, yeah, the 2 nights ago, and then they played them here, and they won both of those games. Significant game. It's super early in the season, but Atlanta is one of these teams that is expected to be challenging or bubble team.
They're fringe playoff team.
Yeah. What's really interesting though about the Wizards, and again, like it's been a long time since I've cared or really paid attention to this team. Jordan Poole looks like an actual NBA player. And I know he's won a championship. I know he's been on I know he's been in the league for a while. But he looks like he's finally ready to carry a team. And he's been doing it. He came out and had 17 in the first half in game 1. He's not getting himself into stupid foul trouble. He's running the offense that Keefe wants to run consistently from the 2 or the 3 position. It's a very interesting style of basketball that they're playing right now. Alex Sarr has started every game, coming in as the second overall pick. Obviously against the Hawks had the first pick in the draft. FP they Zach Risache, right? It was also another French guy, French kid was the first pick. I mean, he's just in the last 2 games. Risache, sorry, I'm going to learn how to say that name properly. He had 15 and then 17. What's his face? Alex Sarr had 11, right? I mean, he's not as polished, but the player that is really impressive is Bilal Coulibaly.
Right.
He's in year 2. His defensive assignment in both games was Trae Young. And say what you want about Trae Young and his weird hair and whatever. He is not an easy cover.
For sure.
He held him to 14 points in the first meeting on a pathetic, like he started like 18% from the field or something like that. And he shut him down again tonight. So,
but all of Bilal, his improvement came from his time with the Olympics, right? That's kind of what.
Bilal, so Coulibaly and Wemby and Sarr and Risache, they all play on. I mean, they're all French nationals. Like they all play on that same team. What's interesting about the Wizards right now is they are committed to playing the young guys. Keefe said it in his preseason interviews. The young guys are going to play a ton of minutes. And just look at the box score for today. Coulibaly, 35 minutes, 27 points, 9 boards, 1 assist. Alex Sarr, 23 minutes, 11 points, 5 boards, 2 assists. Look at Jordan Poole. And then I'm going to talk about my guy Bub here in a second. But Jordan Poole tonight, again, 24 points, 32 minutes, 24 points, 9 assists for Jordan Poole. Like,
I love it. I want the young guys to get all their time in when nobody has expectations.
The NBA Rookie of the Year could potentially be Bub Carrington. This is a guy you need to watch him play.
Okay.
He is a fascinating guard because he's small, but not super small. And at times he looks big, but not really big. Got a silky smooth shot.
Who am I equating him to of an established player?
That's tough because I think if he's playing on somebody It depends on who he's lined up against. He's got some he's got a little Rip Hamilton in him that he can come off the ball and come off a screen and shoot. If you remember how Rip used to do that back in the day, like he would just kill people. Like Rip would just literally catch the ball at the elbow, turn around and shoot. The NBA largely doesn't have a mid-range game anymore. Like he's just an interesting player. He's from Baltimore. Like he could be a piece for the Wiz long term. What I love that they're doing though is they're playing everybody a ton, except Johnny Davis, they didn't pick up his option. But the Wizards are 2-2. I think they're going to get to 30 wins. I mean, no one's expecting anything legitimate from this team, like big time from this team. But they're interesting.
I mean, it would be nice to see, a quality product from that team after the past 2-3 seasons. I mean, they've been so boring, just so boring.
Yeah, I think you're gonna.
I'll start tuning in if it's worth seeing these young guys and there's a little excitement building there, and suddenly after a year, 2 seasons, we kind of explode and kind of become a team, a force. Kind of like the Kings, right? Like that young guys got a lot of playing time and then exploded, and there you go.
I think I don't know. Like LP watches a lot of basketball. Like I think he would say that Bub kind of reminds him of someone like a Sean Livingston. I don't know if you know who that is, but like he's a bigger, lankier guard, really good eyes, can get the ball where it needs to be. He's not going to kill you with a consistent deep ball. I mean, he's got work to do, but he's just a competitor, and you could just tell. Like kids from Baltimore, you could just there's some swagger to him, and it's nice to see. So, the question again, like, will the Wizards win 30 before Ovechkin gets basically 30? I don't know how to answer this question. I think it's going to take the Wiz all season to get to 30 wins. I hope I'm wrong, but I think Ovechkin will get there faster. I just think he will.
38 goals away. I think he hits it. I think he only gets better as the season goes on. But I mean, it's weird.
Listen,
with the football team playing as well as they're playing, suddenly the doom and gloom of being a DC sports fan doesn't really exist anymore. I don't really feel it.
Yeah, I mean these teams will win this, right? I hate to say it because like we want Ovi to get the record, but through and through, like this is a football town, man. Like this is a football town.
100%. If the Caps were 0-8 right now, but the Commanders are still doing what the Commanders are doing, I would still be in an ecstatic, happy mood. It's just, Hail Mary play. I'll watch it forever.
So and the reaction videos. There's something beautiful about watching a different fan base just melt down the way we do pretty much.
The Hail Maryland, Noah's Ark. There's so many good names that came out of it. It's just, I mean, to be the best. It has to be the best memory in the last 25 years over DC, over RG3's.
I mean, RG3's run was big.
Over Santana. It's over all of them because this is like a number one offense doing this.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, okay. I do want to. I mean, were there any other games that caught your eye around the NFL? There's one team in particular, and this shouldn't surprise you, but
is it the Lions?
No, the Lions beating up on everybody. There's a certain team out west, Denver. I just want to take a second to talk about Bo Nix. He's got something.
I will say you were he's not Bo Nix way earlier than the rest of the league and the commentators.
He struts around with his nuts out. Like you can just tell, like this guy's got command of this offense. The coach is putting him in positions to he's not giving him a lot of control of the offense, which is interesting. Like you see Jaden audibling out of stuff all the time. There's no audibles.
Right.
So it's not something that Peyton allows.
It's a boring offense, but it's working.
Yeah. I mean, I think he put up 284, 28, 28 of 37 for 284. And he's spreading the ball around. Like Cortland Sutton is having a little bit of career resurgence here. We talked about the Eagles, and their win. The Lions just absolutely just mud stomping everybody they play right now. I mean, they had 3 special teams touchdowns. Like
the Lions are the hope for me because they have a coaching staff that keeps electing to stay together. And that's kind of why we're seeing them just dominate opponents. Yeah. And my hope is that Cliff and Joe Witt and Anthony Lynn and all these guys, I think they just want to stay with DQ and ride this thing out and kind of see the same thing. That's my hope. But I will say, Bo Nix, Caleb, Jaden, this might be one of the best rookie QB draft classes we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean,
to this point, if Kirk were to go down, I could almost guarantee you Penix would come in and just dominate. Probably turn out to be the best QB of the draft class.
It's interesting because Kirk is playing. He's playing pretty well right now.
Kirk's playing really well. That's going to be a very scary game too.
The Falcons do pretty much everything well, and I feel like they still haven't really utilized Pitts or.
They haven't fully clicked yet, which is scary.
Yeah, like there's something about that team that is scary. Dolphins, I mean, they were hanging in that game with the Cardinals. The Cardinals actually look like a pretty good team. You know,
they're number 1 in the NFC West.
They're 4-4. I mean, and they, Murray went for over 300 yards. James Conner, every time I see him, like, he doesn't get big numbers, but man, does he just plow through people. I mean,
their issues, they need to figure out Marvin Harrison because he has one game on fire, other game disappears.
Yeah, that could be more of a play calling thing, but
yeah,
you're right. And then, the Vikings dropping their second. I mean, that team, like when you look at the league at large.
Yeah, we're robbed, but yeah.
I agree. But you look at the league at large right now, like the Lions to me are the number 1 team, complete on all sides, even though their defense took a step back, losing Hutchinson. The Chiefs are going to be in the conversation because they're 7-0, right? I mean, they're
that's for as big of a trade signing that they did, bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, and there's been a lot of these wide receiver ones that have aged out, but like were fantasy like superstars 5 years ago.
Sure,
DeAndre having a Patty Mahomes could be very scary.
It could.
He's not going to be wide receiver 1. That's still going to be worthy. So I don't know. I hate the Chiefs, but
I do too. I mean, he had 2 catches on 4 targets.
I hate the Chiefs, but so badly, I want us to be like the NFC version of the Chiefs.
I mean, I got the Ravens sitting at 3. I even with the loss, I just think they're really good. And then I've got the Commanders.
We're top 5 easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can't forget about the Bills. They're also 6-2.
But they don't scare me. I there's something about that team that just like they can't run the ball consistently. They can't
really run the ball, but if you factor in Josh Allen as their RB1, it's a scary team.
Okay. I mean, and they improved as well. I think the Amari.
I mean, they're very equal to the Ravens and how they're set up. They just don't have Derrick Henry, but Josh Allen can kind of do a little bit of all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here we go. I mean, hope if the Skins can get this win.
Hey, I said it. Preseason predictions. What is my sign of success? Sweep the Giants. That's it.
They need the I mean,
this was
your request. Yes,
you sweep the Giants. I'm done. I'm hand washed. House money. I'm happy with the year.
This is true. Any final thoughts, FP, before we hang it up and go play some Fortnite?
No, just best time of year, and I'm just thank you, Jaden Daniels, for being that guy that's calm, cool, collected. Thanks God after the Hail Mary, gets interviewed, and he's like, I'm on to the next day. I'm good to go. That's just the type of
feels like a Gibbs guy.
Yeah, just such a good guy, and just Dan Quinn, Peters, all of it. It's just so refreshing to just see like adults on the field. I love it.
I know we're at time. They came down to celebrate a win. They were on the field when the Bears turned the ball over, and it's going to be lost in
the mayhem.
It's going to be lost because like everyone's only going to remember the Hail Mary at the end of the game. But they came down to the field when the Bears fumbled on the 1-yard line. Right, terrible play call. Yes. The Skins had the ball with a 4th and 1. And I was screaming at the TV, screaming, go for it.
I was doing the same thing.
Go for it. Like your defense is tired.
I was doing the
You
same
got
thing.
so lucky at the goal line. Go for it, kneel it out, be done. Obviously, they punted. Caleb, I mean, they drove the field and et cetera. And they got the touchdown and the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
But the play calling was atrocious from the Bears. The
100%.
fade to DJ Moore was terrible. If you're standing on the goal line and there's a big fatty with a jersey that starts in a 6 behind you, he should not touch the ball when you have running backs on your roster.
Yeah.
But anyway, all this to say, Peters and
Harris
and Harris, they were on the field, and you'd have to imagine they were super bummed that they came down and then the team's about to lose, and then they get to be part of the greatest scene in FedEx Field or whatever it's called,
Northwest,
history. I mean, the Burgundy blog running around on the field, everyone turned into a fan. Like, there was no reporters at that moment. It was just fans
shaking hands in the air.
Gary, lifelong Redskins fan, was he? I mean, you can hear him in the NBC broadcast. He's in a side studio or like off camera as Collinsworth 3 is talking to whoever, McCourty, about whatever, and you can hear in the background Matthew Berry screaming the way you and I were screaming. I showed you the video from my house. He was screaming. Dale Earnhardt, there's video of him being recorded.
He was at the game.
He was he's down on the green, screaming. McConaughey posted a video from him watching with friends at his house, screaming. Like, there's people don't know how many burgundy and gold fans are actually out there, and it's so refreshing to see them come out now with the hail and the whatever.
I love it all. I love it all. I mean, I've been going out in public with gear every day now. I love it all.
Yes. Let's go for number 7 this weekend. Thank you, boys. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. Thank you for everyone that chimed in with questions and comments and queries. Thank you, FP, for making time. The show is DTC, Defeating the Curse, available wherever you get your podcast. You can search us on Spotify, Apple, Google. You can tell Alexa to play DTC and she will fire it up. Tune in wherever you get podcasts. You will find this show. Give us a follow. Send in questions for next week if you so choose. If it's a dramatic win against the Giants, I think we'll be doing an instant reaction show. If not, you can catch us probably on Monday, because Tuesday's election night, we'll be doing other things. Until next week, we are out. Hail to the Commanders. Go Jaden Daniels. Let's keep it rolling, baby. We are out.